We're live. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to another virtual Lit Live event here at Village Books in our virtual readings gallery right here. My name is Claire. I'm the events coordinator at Village Books, and I'm delighted to host tonight's event. First, some things you might want to think about if you are on Crowdcast. If you're watching us on Crowdcast, in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, there is a follow button. If you click on follow, then you can see what kind of events we've got coming up in the future. We have a lot of events. We have not let a thing like a pandemic stop us from hosting events, because that is what we're known for at Village Books. So we want to continue that tradition. So if you hit the follow button, you'll see what we have coming up. We've got a lot. Also, if you're hearing an echo, try putting on some headphones, or try turning down the volume of your computer, or make sure that you only have one tab open, one window open, because if there are two open, then you'll get some echoing. All right, let's see. Also, another important button on Crowdcast is this one right here. It's green. It says, order Telos and Other Psychographs here. If you click on that green button, it will take you straight to the Village Books website, where you can purchase copies of our special guest book. So we encourage you, if you're feeling so inclined, feeling inspired tonight, to purchase a copy of the book, and we would appreciate that support, as I'm sure the author would as well. And so that brings me to our special guest this evening. Euphrates Moss is a graduate with a BA in English and Creative Writing from Seattle University, and borrows liberally from his experiences both in and outside of college for the grist in his mill. He's here tonight to discuss this book, Telos and Other Psychographs, and I am definitely compelled to flip this around because you need to see how very cool the back is. The artwork on the back is stunning. So that's the back. There's the front, and without further ado, I know there's thunderous applause. I am going to bring up Mr. Euphrates Moss, and here we go.
Hello. Hey, thank you for having me. And quick note on the book, the artwork that was praised so much there was done by oh, excuse me. It was done by a person named Colleen Venter, and I'm very proud of her for her work, and I'm very glad that that got mentioned. But anyways, I'm going to be reading to you from this book of poetry called Telos and Other Psychographs. First, I wanted to get into the Overture, which takes a while to read, and then I was going to read to you a few more selections. But let's start with what we have now. This is the Overture, and it's headed Andante Manon Tropo. Oh, thou explorer perpetual, the antipods, nature's torch, heaven's eye, motive agreed for wine-cooling jars, Thymbraeus, true father of poetry. O son, thee I invoke, thee I implore, enlighten the obscurity of mine, the genius of my ink-born pen for this, the project of the mapping of my soul. Enable me to write with precision. Without thy aid, I find myself feeble, lukewarm, and confused. Blessed am I, with mouth to sing the sound, bass barrel tone, cadging for the heights. Just so she was never in my presence. British commoner chirps the charm of wit. She of the farrago of sentiments, dawdling like a toddler, this way and that, my heart to Boston, as I ways found her in confederacy with parasites, whilst holding a friendly carriage with me, like she was in a constant transmutation. Honestly, I could not Columbo her, but I shall overcome that dump one day, fly blown as though sentenced to scaphism. We whom started like doves, ignominious venomous whites part, and distill separately in the din. No rue her rosemary, her way will tend. Oh, ye damned mockin, malignant strain, deracinate yourself of me, defer or dodger, Chinese Malay Brit, this one named Yazri Shah, a true love. But that unfinished yarn abandoned was, and I pathetic coward am and was. No, I say slit your wrists down and across, so your kids know not your maculation. The flowing asterisk besides your name that lists 1,000 of your damning faults, each upon which your misprision growing. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds. You may or may not be fascinerous. However, I am but a moiety of our inextricable psychic knot. That I know dreams when you've contacted me, and I am nothing but bewilderment, etherized by that cross-sick babbling, though that voice did ring a merry note. You're not so prudent to crow on like that. Let your shit friends do your dirt work for you. Not the wisest for such caustic remarks, for becoming such an awful person. But lo, we can leave for another time. Those expat souls of the 1920s seemed such gregarious souls, did they not? They seemed contrived in what they presented in their what you call personal interactions. Jody Bull, that washed out poet of yore, the triumph of bullshit, unadulterated, perennial at Pons Asinorum, and precipitant to judge, as always, apt purveyor of the panegyric, especially in regard to his past, his close cropped hair and religious beliefs, held bond all lawyerism concluding, and you, Jody Bull, Catholic to the hilt. If God on high is inconceivable, why must you insist on conceiving him, and conceive to me what you don't conceive, and still conceive of virgin conception? True, children must not make playthings of ours. Christians view objective facts as a tax, and there's something about these middle-aged, heavy, beardy twats call me arrogant. I don't suffer the rushing fools gladly, chattering lips referring to wan nights, but really I don't suffer them at all, so long as I can give them grief for it, as merry mocking is a spice of life. Theirs is a lot exsufflicate and blown, touching less matter wanes into the void. Their easy religion and politics, as no one can be proven wrong in them. What if for once someone were punished for, imagine this, a metamorphic doom? It is best in mine eyes to brook others, peers in the community of my work, disparage in frothy lucubrations, all the nuance of my finely honed art. It shows what I'm doing material, but I listen closely as the same praise, for that is when they show not their jealousy, honest criticism not the forte in the domain of artistic peerage. Silence! Here, a moment of reflection. Should my profanity Peter rug me? No home, no other home in this world o'er, no satisfaction, nature in its veils, a rip-off at any price I should pay. Between dead and powerless to be born to die and then regret afterwards, persona non grata with publishers, in pursuit but gaining only distance. I must be wary as I am with fire, of great use, but it is the undoer. I knew I'd need Drella in there, somewhere, anywhere even, that life and scum shot, the work and film and photos and novels, the famous paintings of Campbell's soup cans, and that photograph of him laced to box. The artist was always meant to be there. I needed the album he produced, too. That pinnacle of vorticist expression through jazz, neoclassical, and rock. The ostrich lies in wait from lands afar, and I had to catalog the numbers. A queerdity is so oft the death knell of the ties I hold so dear, so precious. A new tune, a new dance for this old time. I met a girl with sleeve metal tattoos, intoxicated her with my poesy. Common, yes, but she, my yes. A pretense of art without pretension, a voice breathy without being breathless, earthy in words, ethereal in tone, light nimble, but in content very deep, jumpy for some notes, low constant others. Meryl, ginger girl of the Salton Sea, vessel of dual personality, was born on February 29th to woman and a once prominent man, already on the has-been tree path beneath the gaze of steady Orion. The very day Meryl was delivered was a half-sister conceived by the midwife Prenza, blood of the same, bane of the home. Infidelious souls, habits bewail, the jealousy their mutiny extends. Love is fraud man commits against himself. He was domineering till the divorce. She's Cambodian. Oh, biggest of eyes. She says, "You don't write poems of anything." Better poems of bigger nothing than poems which vice that versa in every way, as even nothing must be substantial. But I know I can't win with her. If I write in an elevated style, as poetry so often demands of me, she will say it sounds forced, false of a known voice. And she disrespects my low hand speaking, but something of the sinning girl connects me. She knows a thing or two about the world. Big fatness boyo, bokak banjo. Blonde Welshness for chinky eyes, says I. As my name for Iris, never buddy. Think you're the Aleph and the Omega. Cambodian food is the healthiest, but your writing's just a gallimaufry. Your style reeks of blatant pleonasm, and you all too often rely, on the unexpected pinch of Attic salt. And that's just when you don't over-relish words for notes. The national anthem, at least in terms of cheese, you're minimal. You do a job cutting it mostly. I understand the technicality. I know that it's good, but I'm not a fan. Telos, to start with that, a threnody, the death divining bird, your swan song. I suppose after you should rise, Phoenix, resting on that sole Arabian tree. She says, Ben, is ignorance truly bliss? I don't know, I said. I am ignorant. I know overabundant ambition could quickly folly the philologos, trample and suffocate those flowing lines, bedfellow unwanted criticism, make triplicate one's apparent problems, create groans and sighs, whereas shock and awe, seemingly bare suggestion, break a leg, but rather at the audience's pleasure should the purposes of practiced verse serve. And me, the current dilettante, it seems, Dad said, you like the sound of your own voice. I can remember the slough of despond, when I deeply dreaded the waking hour and couldn't have trusted myself with sleep. But that was such a time ago, my God. Here I sit and write as I stop and think. The slow-moving oxen set their will against the fields yonder in Arcadia. Call out your meaningful name, Euphrates, the first quarter-century cut of me, wherein lies all my juvenilia, from one-act plays to unfinished novels, and my debut attempt at pretension. Genius is not how receptive you are to information, but how receptive you are to inspiration. Dated March 2003, inscribed in the pages of my copy of The Great Gatsby, and I knew I wanted to express more. By the white in my beard, let silver come, as I think age would suit me well in the end. Be like the samurai, Euphrates Moss. Remember every single one you serve. The bone without yield eventually shatters. Shakespeare's sonnets were written for a patron. But be not sluggardized by the home life. Your travels must farthen soul over place. Celebrate the psyche and the body. Achieve Caesaropapism in work. If acumen leaves mine prematurely, then let that numbing morphine fill the veins and bury me deep beneath the crossroads, that what's left may travel 4 directions. A stake driven between my ribs keeps my soul at rest, never to walk the earth again. The last fair deal gone down, necessary. Am I then the lesser of two nothings? I've fallen. Do I deserve Tartarus? So goes the infinity, or irony. And here begin we must with Benjamin, an account of life around an event, madly and mad, indeed, mad as a tree, so he can see the forest for the trees. A man on path, mad waxing towards woodness. And that is the overture. Wow, that takes about 17 minutes to read. I guess I'm not surprised that that was the beginning of the poem. It was a sort of my dictionary workout, I guess, if you will. I suppose if I haven't alienated anybody, I should, or everybody at this point, I should read some other material from my work. So now I want to read a pause. All my ripened wit contender must be procured as blind above the surface of those inconsistent waters, quelquefois dashing sunlit on the lake. My native wit's worth can't be paid in legal tender, but like in dividends, so strike as oars that smite the waves, or show me safe to passage, destination, lavish dinners with spirits to chase and be chased, palatable, my beating heart preserve my mind for the presentation to guests of something to remove all doubt. That's my oh, why thank you. I'm looking and I see the comments, and the comments are quite good, so thank you very much. Let's see, and so anyways, that was just a short poem about sort of speaking and having that speech be the remover of all doubt. You know, as they say, better to remain silent. Sometimes I live that out, and sometimes I don't. But anyways. I also I'm just thinking about what else to get to here. I also wanted to read my elegy, which I wrote after my aunt died in 2013. She was a victim of the opioid epidemic, and anyways, unfortunately, I think she had one of those, maybe one of those doctors who prescribed those things as painkillers and stuff like that. And, it seems like it would seem like she could have used perhaps other means to deal with pain management. That's what I think is that pain is something that has to be managed, and it's not something that should be numbed. The idea of pain numbing is, I think, what causes many an addiction, especially addictions to morphine and fentanyl and stuff like that. Fentanyl, which they say is 100 times more powerful than morphine. Anyways, this is Elegy. I put a what do you call it? An epigram in here that I took from John Donne, a famous poet who was I believe he was a contemporary of Shakespeare's, considered by many to be one of the best of his time. And this goes, think that a rusty piece discharged is flown in pieces, and the bullet is his own, and freely flies, this to thy soul allow. Think thy shell broke, think thy soul hatched but now. Now shall I cry, non cry, for Delos might well-headed be, those ships passing through good night. For all I meant to know, the longest one-way westward line hand-picked the members of our precious clan. Holla, Captain! I say, Captain, hail! Spare a word of comfort and good portent from their destination. Does the way bode ill or well? Don't turn your head, I do beseech you, for the sake of all on this side of the abstract plains. Ne well nor ill, good my soul, prospective mate. Good tidings I am forbidden from giving. By the vast ignorance I bear of the far off, ignorance being a burden truly great, unbeknowingly carried till it's too late to change decisions of what's one's fate. But perhaps some comforts may the truth bestow. They lived well and richly loved, and earned rich hisses from the deep above. Fruits from this terrestrial and more they'll know. But here 4 lands do we intend, where they will wander ocean like, till rest take weary from their blessed souls. As complicated as any love and more, this domain holding all faiths, all dogmas free. Good my soul, Captain, lands can this be? Islands to you, though sooth all lands are not, the earth, the vast thereof, swath a sea, is it not? Hold fast ye, and heed paradises, perditions, even purgatories will these travelers savvy, none alike for each to each, else to else, be they Lemuel Gulliver, your dear aunt, the Raja of India, or the tribesman Typee. These ships carry on them a unique load, greater than the of the whole world. They will be equalized somewhere in the universe, elsewhere in the universe. Swift tales by nimble minds, lands I reveal in brief. Valhalla to the north for the brave ones, the east to the pensive space in Iden. Elysian fields the west hard workers reap, perdition is south the rebels' glen. With prospective settlement in all or none, permanent non-existence an option too. I wouldn't know, being not a pilgrim myself. I could expand on these expanses, good my soul, but I must make an end of my speech, for the High Admiral is impatient we leave. Lament ye not over too fast of an extent, I say. This will not long now be your domicile. Good Dan, I made clear my wish that he'd tarry and speak further to me, but he indicated his business and asked peace. The afterlife is not a flash of blinding revelation, but instead a new adventure furls throughout creation. The universe, the great equalizer, runs ways towards equilibrium. Entropy is a solipsistic concept. Heat, death is peace in a different parlance. Each their moral account will be reckoned. On a smaller scale, a personal level, the universe tracings on true, indifferent, the apparent chaos preserving freedom. He signaled his crew into the briny depths. The likes of his I felt I'd not see again, and with them lines written about the methodical creep of the physics substitute, create time capsules in memoriam. Those who make their beds will sleep in them. God, it's so strange her not being around. Let not but the truth remain in the light. The lesser of 2 evils is no lesser at all. Full moon in 6 stages, the 7th brings return. He signaled his crew into the deep dark. The likes I felt I'd not see again. In a sense, God's house is everywhere. My bathtub is my baptismal fount. The dinner platter my ciborium. My friends, my trusty co-disciples. A cynosure sure to be my guide. Medications are indeed my 2 tablets. Philosophers are my true priests. Their street clothes now their vestments, and their knowledge held by a chrism, from which the anointing pours, blessed, but in a way by knowledge thirst. It's a different world, those gone, that tucks me into bed at night too, and greets me in the morning when I wake to, tinged at the edges by a survivor's melancholy. That time itself is desultory, a freight with meaningless cargo hurtling trackless, we who must move, them who stay, for Robert Wallace Moss, Jr. 1st of February 1930, 29th of October 1970. I wouldn't know good men. I haven't met one. One Bloomsdale was one born, another was another born. Siblings, 1955 and 1959. Aunt Colleen Ann Strand. M. More deceased 10th of December 2013. Rest her. Don't get lugubrious here. Teller of the ever-shifting tale, school swimming record holder until my mom came along, victim of the physics substitute. Still had to forgive my mom, disrupting the sovereignty of birth. Aunt's offspring, Dutch twins. Also, call it poetic justice, this hilarious recitation. Fate can tie a double knot twice, and fate would reckon the remainder. Dying fall for the elder, fall leading to injury the younger. Monophonia, her Julian ear. Come on my right hand, not Caesarean born, though premature, relic of the timeless times, the earliest to survive, my mother so full of life, and I cannot see coincidence. Now must I cry, non-cry, the funeral, the pallbearers, the casket, the cross, the lowering on ceremony, the service and the wake. It's one and the same death falls upon the priest as on the pagan, the cop as well as the criminal, the loved among the loathed, the rich the same the wretched, the butcher as with the baker, the pedestrian, the passenger. The stars enumerated sands, and you along with yours truly, all must come to one singular, Eros, Agape, Philia, and Storg. Also Thanatos, inconceivable are. Specifically the path to those, all Euphrates is, are not but moss, clinging to the outer of a stone. What hope knows love thereafter? What was before? What will after? This much I must square and settle. Practical, better I create afterlife. Black to gray, to white and back. Back, the only place we can't. To those who've left us behind, survivors they made of us. I only ask a clean, well-lighted place, beyond the tepid pale of memory, a cake to have and a cake to eat. And that is an elegy I wrote after my aunt's death. That was kind of an interesting time in my life, and I can see now that it's been a half hour. I hope you have enjoyed yourself with my reading, and I guess I'm wrapping it up. So.
Well, I was wondering if you would answer a couple of questions because I'm curious. Thank you so much for sharing your work. I am sorry about your aunt. I'm sorry that you lost her to the epidemic, the opioid epidemic that we have in this country.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you could explain, for those of us who don't know, I don't know, what is psychograph?
Oh, that was a word I made.
Okay, I like that.
So graph, right? So psyche is Greek for soul, and graph, I think, might be Latin.
Probably.
It's sort of I think of graphs as sort of maps. So when I named the book Telos and Other Psychographs, I meant maps of the soul. And Telos was the first map of the soul.
Okay.
And that's the overture that I read for you. Telos is actually a very long poem. If I read the whole thing here, it would take much longer than a half hour. In this whole book, Telos is probably 4/5 of the whole thing. So
oh my goodness! Okay.
It really takes up a lot.
Okay.
But anyways,
it's interesting.
Right. So psychographs are meant to be maps of the soul.
Okay. I like that. I love that idea. I noticed that looking through your book that so you say that that's like fifths of your book, but then I noticed that there are some pieces that seem unrelated, like like Sweet Virginia. Um,
Yeah.
can you just tell me briefly where Sweet Virginia fits into all that? What was the inspiration for Sweet Virginia?
Yeah. That actually, I don't think it does really fit in. I wrote it. It was probably one of the last poems I wrote for with the book and everything in mind. And I was just thought about how evocative the song "Sweet Virginia" by the Rolling Stones is,
Hmm.
even though I wonder if they've ever even seen that kind of Virginia before, or if they were just making it up or whatever. But whatever it is, it really makes me think and feel like I'm out on the back porch
Hmm.
in front of a cornfield or something like that on like a clear night, with the moon playing, and like those mason jars filled
Yep.
with either sweet tea or
Maybe a little
moonshine
moonshine.
or whatever. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I just really liked the poem,
Hmm.
and so I just I just said, okay, I'll put it in the book. But yeah, in retrospect, now that I've put it in the book, it is a little bit too much Keith Richards and not enough Euphrates Moss
Well,
to
I
be
really
in the
like
book.
it though. It's very evocative. I really appreciated it. It really kind of jumped right out at me. So I'm glad that you included it. So
Oh,
it
I thank
it
you.
really
Oh,
it really takes you to a place. It takes you to that back porch. So I
yeah,
appreciate
because I actually took it out for like a second edition of the book. I was gonna um, I thought I was done with, I was kind of foolish. I kind of thought like I was done with it in 2017
it. Hmm.
and put the book out then. Um, and then after I put the book out, I realized I'd made a bunch of sort of typographical mistakes and stuff
Okay.
like that. There's even a blank page or two, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so I was correcting it and going through it, and one correction sort of uh, accrued on top of another until finally I was adding whole new poems and stuff like that. Um, and so I decided to, sort of try to put out a second edition if I can.
Mhm.
If I ever sell it on my first edition, which I don't know if I ever will or not, but it's a pipe dream. So
Yes.
in this pipe dream, if I sell out of this first edition, I would put out a second edition, and I would actually replace that poem. Unfortunately, but now you say that you like it, maybe I'm having second thoughts about
Well,
that.
maybe it could go in
Maybe
something else. Maybe it can go in something else down the road. But
Yeah, because you are absolutely right. You're very perceptive in that, like, you were wondering how it fit in there, and I myself was indeed wondering how it fits in there, because the rest of the poems in the book, even though they're not telos, are supposed to all sort of fit together in sort of a thematic way.
Mhm.
There's something kind of tying them together.
Mhm.
Um, there are poems that I've written that I've left out of the book, actually, because they didn't add to the themes of it or anything like that. And like I said, the Sweet Virginia poem, I just liked it a lot.
Yeah. Well, I like it too. So thank you. And are you working on anything currently that's not in the book?
Well, actually, I have a collection of sonnets that I would like to publish. I published this book myself,
Hmm.
so the book of sonnets. I'm maybe looking for an outside publisher or something like that to make it a bit easier.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's 181 sonnets, and it's just basically sort of um, resurrecting, I guess, if you will, a 500-year-old art form that I kind of wish it didn't die. Like I think sonnets were out of style even in Shakespeare's time,
Mm.
which kind of tells you something.
Yeah, and I love
So
sonnets. Sonnets are beautiful. I love them.
they are, and Shakespeare's sonnets are incredible.
Hmm.
He didn't write a whole bunch of poems, but he wrote a poem called Venus and Adonis. He wrote another poem called The Rape of Lucrece, and those are both really long poems.
Hmm.
And then he wrote the sonnets after those. And what you can see with those three poems, and those are the order they were written in, is you can see the artistic growth of Shakespeare as the poems go on, because each of those is more complicated than the last. The Venus and Adonis, if you ever read it,
I have
it's
not.
very simple. It's very simple, and there's not much in terms of artistic references and stuff like that. And it was actually, I think, his most popular poem at the time.
Oh.
It went through like 16 pressings. So,
Oh, wow.
but anyways, yeah, all those are sort of like they're great portraits of a artist in growth.
Hmm.
So I really love those, actually. But anyways, yeah.
Well, good luck with the collection of sonnets, and we so appreciate your sharing your work tonight. This was just delightful. So we hope that we'll get to host you for your next collection in person. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Thank you. Yes, I would love to. I love that. I will work hard on getting that out there and getting that published. Then I will look forward to it.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your work tonight. And David Beaumier in the chat, he says, "Yay, yay!"
Thank you very much.
All right. Well,
I can.
with that, I think that unless you have any parting words, I think that we'll say good night. And I just have so enjoyed this.
Yes, I think I can do like one last quick line here.
Okay.
The very last line in the book, just to give away the ending.
Okay.
The very last line I wrote is an American sentence, which was invented by Allen Ginsberg, and there are 17 syllable sentences that are kind of like I think they're inspired by what do you call it? Haiku?
Okay.
Because haikus have 17 syllables. Anyways, it says, "Farewell is too lavish a valediction, so I leave in silence." There we go.
All right. We'll leave in